cowboy movie set in space. That's Star Wars. It's old-fashioned, escapist entertainment, pure and simple, with no moral, no message. And it appears this is what just about everybody in the country is in the mood for.
After the success of Star Wars, every TV network producer wanted to find a way to cash in on the success and find a way to bring an epic space adventure to the small screen. Legendary producer Glenn Larson, who had already had success with TV shows such as Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, pitched a plan to Universal and ABC to bring a space epic to the small screen.
Fall Guy is a Glenn Larson production.
The show would follow the adventures of a starship as it journeyed across the galaxies, transporting human survivors from Earth as they are chased by robotic soldiers called Cylon. The only issue with ABC was how could they do this on a TV show budget? Star Wars had created a new standard in science fiction effects. Anything cheaper would come off as corny and be seen as a joke. However, Larson promised ABC and Universal that he could do the television show for only $7 million. That was $40 million less than the budget of Star Wars. ABC agreed, and work started on an hour-and-a-half pilot episode, Battlestar Galactica, Saga of a Star World. In late fall of 1977, production started on the pilot episode, and Larson knew who he needed to pull this off: the people that helped pull off Star Wars. Larson hired concept artist Ralph McQuarrie and Industrial Light and Magic's co-founder John Drexton, who had a falling out with George Lucas during the making of Star Wars. Universal sent a 500-page draft of the show's plans titled Galactica, Saga of a Star World, to George Lucas's office. According to Ralph McQuarrie, Lucas wasn't happy at all. The show was a problem for George because they had an emperor, their versions of the stormtroopers, rocket fighters. They had a lot of things that fit into Star Wars, and it was clear it was a Star Wars ripoff, McQuarrie told J.W. Risen in his book, The Making of Star Wars. Former Lucas employee John Drexton admitted in the 1983 book, Skywalking, The Life and Films of George Lucas, that he used many of the same effects on Battlestar Galactica that he used when making Star Wars, and he felt guilty about that. Lucasfilm and 20th Century Fox were not happy with what they read in the 500-page draft of what was being filmed over at the Universal Studios lot. Dirk Benedict was cast as a roguish space pilot. The Cylon stormtrooper-like soldiers, dogfight battles in space. This wasn't someone trying to ride the coattails of Star Wars. To George Lucas and 20th Century Fox, this was someone trying to rip off Star Wars. In June of 1978, 3 months before the premiere of the pilot episode, Lucas and 20th Century Fox filed a lawsuit against ABC and Universal. People felt something like Battlestar Galactica was a television version of Star Wars. It was the same thing, and they tried to sell it like it was the same thing, as if I had made it. Not only does it upset me because I didn't think the quality was very good, but it also upset me because if I wanted to do a TV series of Star Wars, I couldn't. They had already spoiled the television market. Lucas explained in the book Making of The Empire Strikes Back. To show that they had a case that Larson was ripping off Star Wars, 20th Century Fox came up with similarities between Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars. Out of the 34 similarities, some seemed like real issues, while others just seemed like it was a reach to say they took from Star Wars, such as they both centered around conflict of a war. As the lawsuit battled its way to the courts, ABC premiered the pilot episode of Battlestar Galactica on September 17, 1978. The show was a ratings success. Larson also took notes from the Lucas playbook and reached out to toy companies, comic book publishers, anyone willing to spend money for the rights to sell Battlestar Galactica merchandise. Larson, Universal, and ABC believed they successfully brought Star Wars to the small screen. However, after the pilot episode, ABC saw a steady drop in viewers as the season went on. Not only was the show dropping in viewers, as the season continued, the budget started to shrink as well, and the look of Star Wars on the small screen was starting to disappear. After 24 episodes, ABC pulled the plug on Battlestar Galactica. However, they were still having to battle George Lucas and 20th Century Fox in the courtroom. In 1980, a California district court dismissed the claim filed by 20th Century Fox and Lucasfilm. The two parties appealed the dismissal even if ABC had already canceled the show. The lawsuit would keep going until 1983 when the United States Court of Appeals Ninth Circuit reversed the lower court's decision ordering the lawsuit to trial. Lucas or Larson would never step into the courtroom as both parties would reach an agreement out of court. At the same time in 1983, both creators would step away from their science fiction fantasies and focus on other things. But nothing stays dead forever, as Star Wars would return in the mid-90s with the re-release of the original films and the start of the Star Wars prequels in 1999. And Larson handed Battlestar Galactica over to Ronald D. Moore, who rebooted and retooled Battlestar Galactica into a much darker, grittier, and much more popular series. The two franchises had gone their separate ways, and now it looks like Star Wars is aiming for the small screen with plans for at least 2 live-action television shows on Disney Plus streaming service, and Battlestar Galactica plans to head to the big screen. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and hit thumbs up so I'll know you'll want more from this series of videos.